which we can work together to build healthier communities, and it's events like this that help us to do that. Can everybody hear me? All right. So everybody that's talking now, why don't you come up and join me here, and I'll pass you the mic so that or if not, maybe we should quiet down so that we can focus on what tonight's event is about. Breaking the cycle of community trauma. This is a conversation to explore the ways poverty and inequity impact the collective and individual mental health of communities. What happens when children are left unsupported in their trauma. So that's what we want to talk about, that's what we want to stay centered around. And what I'm going to ask before I move on to describe more specifically what our calls to action are and the podcast is for us to take a collective breath in. Because I feel in some ways when we don't get present in the moment together, we're not really listening and opening our hearts wide open enough to take in and explore what this conversation can actually do to help us. So let's take in a deep breath together on 3. 1, 2, 3. And exhale. Let's do that 2 more times together. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. And exhale. This time, let's breathe through our nose and out through our mouth. Let's take in a deep, deep breath together. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. And just hold it for a second. Suspend yourself there. Bring yourself into the moment and exhale. Great. So we do have a call to action this evening, and if at any point during this conversation you feel you need to support, please text LA to 741-741. That's LA to 741-741, and speak to a trained counselor immediately. And to speak to a trained counselor immediately, text ACCESS, the word ACCESS, ACCESS, to 31996. 31996, especially if you've ever been denied care. All right, so tonight we're also going to be doing a podcast. It's a podcast panel with the wonderful and beautiful Yessi Ortiz. Let's give her a round of applause. Host of 97.1 AMP Radio, co-host of Mental Health is REAL, Real podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And joining her co-host is Dr. Milo Dodson. Mental Health is Real, licensed psychologist. Come on up, Dr. Dodson. Joining them for this discussion is hip-hop artist Katori Walker. All right. And just to let you know, following the podcast, we have a poet from Get Lit, Words Unite, Kaylin Turner coming up, and then we have another panel afterwards, which will be exploring the issues around mass incarceration and mental wellness, and that starts at 7:50 p.m. So please, if you want to stay, join us for that panel as well. I'll hand it over to you two. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here today. We are so excited to be able to share our podcast, Mental Health is Reflecting Empathy and Love.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's Mental Health is Real.
It's a little acronym there.
And we also want to thank you guys for being present. I mean, it takes, when you talk about mental health, you kind of almost get people a little scared. What are we going to talk about? Is this a therapy session?
And what I get is, why are you analyzing me?
Right.
Don't judge me, doctor.
Don't judge me. So that was the main reason why we wanted to do this podcast, because there's such a stigma in our Black and brown communities. As being a Mexican-American woman, you hear the term no estés llorando, which is don't cry. You hear the words, suck it up, get over it. And I know Milo, growing up as a Black man in our community.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was a young Black boy, I didn't have the opportunity and I wasn't encouraged to express my emotions. In fact, I was told, don't express your emotions, don't cry, stop being a little girl, suck it up, get back out there. And I didn't actually feel supported in that. Whatever people thought that they were actually trying to do, it was actually more limiting than supporting.
Right, so that's important for us because as a platform that I have every single day on a daily basis, I get to meet some beautiful people. And I sometimes hear that their voices aren't being heard. So when I met Milo has already been doing the work. I mean, he works at UC Irvine's Counseling Center. He's a senior staff psychologist there. He's worked with Common in his Common Ground Foundation.
As Dreamers and Believers Summer Youth Camp.
He's also done work with Namdi Asamoah and Kerry Washington and their foundation.
Olivia Pope. Any Scandal fans?
Scandal fans?
Yeah.
I know. And Tiger Woods Foundation as well. So meeting Milo and having my platform, it just kind of felt that we had to do something together. And I'm so thankful and honored to do this with Katori Walker because of his messaging that he provides to everyone. And without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome Katori Walker to the stage.
Yeah.
Hello.
You got a lot of fans out here.
I do.
And on the stage too, we're fast.
I know you're gonna have a little surprise for us towards the end, right?
Yeah.
And we're really excited about that. We also want you guys to listen to our conversation, and if you guys have any questions, we are gonna save some time to have questions and answers towards the end of the podcast. And I'm gonna let these two gentlemen continue the conversation as I put on my producer hat. And I think you guys are gonna enjoy it. So without further ado, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Queen.
Thank you.
All right, good brother. Give it up one more time for this brother, please.
Give it up 2 times for his Off-Whites. Give it up for the Off-Whites.
I got the mental health awareness color, the lime green though. So
Yeah, it worked though.
Thanks, man.
It worked.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
So man, first and foremost, we heard that you're an amazing hip hop artist out of Compton, California.
Pasadena, California.
Pasadena,
Pasadena.
California.
Hold on. Let's make some noise for Pasadena. Let them know. Hold on.
So I humbly received that correction, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you. Shout out to Pasadena.
Yeah.
So you're an amazing hip hop artist out of Pasadena, California.
Yeah.
And we know all about the work that you do and the artistry and the songs that you put out. The first question I want to ask you is, who is Katori Walker? Who are you?
Well, first of all, you guys know that I'm an artist.
Yes.
Secondly, I am a father.
Yes,
It's an amazing thing.
Beautiful.
I have an amazing 8-month-old daughter. Her name is Mia. She's here somewhere wearing a Katori Walker t-shirt in support of my thing.
There's Mia.
There's Mia. I feel like, just to explain myself, I feel like Katori is the best way I can say it is an extroverted introvert. I mean, introverted extrovert. So someone that knows how to separate themselves, but someone that also knows how to include themselves, and someone that is very easygoing. I like to consider myself like a chameleon. Like I know how to handle myself in every aspect of different crowds and stuff.
You can adapt and be flexible.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So that's basically, to sum me up, I feel like I would just say like a social chameleon, social butterfly.
So, as this social butterfly, as this chameleon, what drives you? What pushes you forward? What are those motivating factors for you?
Well, there's a lot of motivating factors. One major one is I always told myself, just on a music aspect, I told myself I would never be happy doing something that I didn't love to do. You know what I'm saying? So that drive of like, yo, I love doing music, and that's one thing that I know for sure that's gonna make me happy, 100%. You know what I'm saying? So I don't feel like my life would be complete if I wasn't doing music. So that's one thing that drives me. And then, secondly is like I grew up not having much. Me, my siblings, my brothers, my sister, everybody, we grew up not having much. So that also drives me is like, yo, I have a child now, and I don't want her to experience the things that I experienced in the tough and the hardships and stuff like that. Even though it made me a great person, I'm a great individual, I feel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there were certain things that I wish I didn't have to go through to get to a certain place, and I don't want my daughter to experience those things or any children that follow after that.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And then another thing is, just to touch on ignorance, is the death of my brother. That changed my perception on a lot of things, and You know, you have friends die, you have homies die, you have even cousins, but when it's someone that you slept next to, you know what I'm saying? Someone in the bunk bed above you or the bunk bed right next to you, it's a different feeling, you know what I'm saying? And that changed my life and changed my perspective forever. So that drives me, and just seeing, like, my mom and my dad, they're very strong people. And to see my mom cry, I never want to see that again. You know what I'm saying? So that's what drives me. I want to see my mom happy. You know what I'm saying? I want to see my dad happy. So that driving factor, and just knowing, like, yo, of course, the same thing is like, yo, we want to buy our mom a house. You know what I'm saying? Of course.
Absolutely.
But, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times I see my mom, I'm like, yo, she might ask me for something, I'm like, I'm supposed to be asking you. You're supposed to be the ball and shot caller. You know what I'm saying? And I want that. I want that for my mom, and I just want her to live the best life possible. Same with my dad and stuff like that too. So those driving factors is literally what pushed me so hard.
I get that, man. I think growing up with just me and my mom, single parent household, I understand that strong connection, and how much you really, really just want to give back and be connected and show that love and receive that love. And I think what you're hitting on there is such a beautiful, unique perspective, because in your video from Ignorance, when you're on the sidewalk, there's such a powerful connection between the viewer. Has everybody seen the video that we're talking about from Ignorance? Yeah, so if you haven't seen it yet, like, as a psychologist, I recommend it, but first and foremost, before I was a psychologist, I was a black man in America, and no matter what we do for a living, we're black men in America, so I highly, highly recommend that. So in the video, you have such this powerful, resonating connection with the camera, and there's so much vulnerability, and there's so much raw emotion there.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, like, as an artist, and as a black man, what was that like for you to think about all the prep leading up to that, but then also in filming that? Like, what's that process like?
It was very hurtful. Like, the pain in that video was real pain.
Yeah.
When my brother passed away, I thought about, what did he feel like? What was the thoughts going through his head as, you know what I'm saying, he's bleeding out his neck and he's panicking and he don't know what to do. And I thought about that, and I thought about where was his mind going? Why did this happen? Why did that cause that? Why did, you know what I'm saying, the other side do what they did to him? You know what I'm saying? Was it really for a purpose? And that consistently ran through my mind over and over. I literally couldn't sleep. Every night I'm waking up having nightmares, literally seeing his face and, like, wondering, like, what did he feel like? And then that was my depiction of what he felt like. Like, yo, even though my brother lived a certain life his way, nobody wants to die. At all. No matter what, if you're in a gang, or no matter if you doing reckless stuff with your life, nobody truly wants to die. You know what I'm saying? Some people do want to numb pain, but nobody truly wants to die, you know? So, in that thought pattern running through my head, I'm like, yo, I have to paint a picture of what I think my brother's last moments were.
Right.
And that's what that was. And it was very tough. It was actually tougher recording the song.
Like the vocals and everything?
Yeah, because we shot the video like 4 or 5 months after he had passed away. But I wrote that song, literally, he passed away on a Friday night / Saturday morning. Literally, by that Monday, I wrote that song. And it was so much emotion, and I literally was crying as I released that, because I was so frustrated. Like, yo, like, I feel like, just to even go on to the next subject, like, I just feel like as black people in America, like, we suffer from the hands of, let's just say, the hands of the man, and then the hands of the law, the hands of the system. And then we want to fight with each other too. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah. It's like, yo, come on now.
And you actually talk about that when you're mentioning that just because you made a choice or just because I made a choice of red versus blue, then there's the violence in the black community, as you were talking about. Yeah. And I think the hands of the man and the policy, the policy is very real in the way that it impacts and negatively impacts our mental health. And what we see in psychology now, and what I've seen in my clients, is an increase in race-related stress. And so when people are coming in, I was on urgent care the day after the presidential election. Mm-hmm. And man, to be honest, I needed to talk to somebody that day. Yeah. And so to be able to hold space for people and just be like, you know what, today sucks. Yeah. And there's intentionality behind some of the triggers of policy, and I think we need